Rise and Shine Garage Doors is a premium garage door service company servicing the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, including outer state Minnesota and western Wisconsin from St. Cloud all the way down to Rochester, Minnesota. We pride ourselves on providing the best customer service in all garage door repairs. We take great pride in having a premium service for all of our customers. Rise of the Rooster Podcast is here to help you improve your relationship that you have with the largest mechanical moving object in your home. Now here's your host, Logan Greene, with the Rise of the Rooster Podcast. We are clucking good at what we do.
Hello, everybody. My name is Logan Greene with Rise of the Rooster Podcast, and I got a little bit of a different episode for you guys today, where it's just going to be me talking to you guys and kind of sharing some really interesting stories and things that have happened to me as a garage door technician, a little bit from being a manager as well. I have to say right off the bat, I know I've mentioned this in a couple other episodes, I genuinely love what I do. I genuinely love fixing people's garage doors. It's a really great opportunity to go to somebody's home and take care of them in a time of pretty great need. And a lot of people don't really notice how much they genuinely use their garage door until it stops working. And that really is, for a lot of people, the main entrance into their home. That it can be a very safe space for them as they are coming home from work or an activity. And they keep a lot of valuables in their garage, so it's a big sense of security to make sure that the garage door is working properly all the time. So when we are called out to fix somebody's garage door, it's very regularly of very high importance, and it's kind of urgent. So when we're getting to people, they're having a bad day. It's not a very fun situation to be in when your garage door is broken. And so it's my job as the garage door technician, the garage door professional, to not only fix their garage door, that's obviously why they would call us, but I want to make sure I'm turning this into as much of a positive experience as possible. One of my greatest fears is somebody simply decides not to get their door repaired because of something that I've done that would possibly make them upset, but more than anything, not get them to trust me in the solutions that I have to offer. So I'm gonna gonna talk about myself a little bit, but I think I do a pretty good job of showing our customers that we do have a lot of value, and I have to put a lot of props up to my team. They do a really great job of showing their value and showing the customer that we have a lot of really great things that we can offer them. So this episode is called The Stories from the Field. And so this is a series that will be rolling out every couple episodes. You'll see a Stories from the Field episode. It'll either be myself kind of interviewing somebody else or telling about stories that just recently happened, or other technicians sharing stories that they have from the field, and some stories that have a little bit of meaning to them, and kind of one of the big things that pop out in our head as to why we do this job and why we love it so much. So this first story is a job where a customer was trying to save money and ended up having to spend more money later. It's kind of a cautionary tale. This was a job in the South Metro that I was working with. This really, really nice family had called us out. They had used our services in the past, but it had been a couple of years and they had moved to a different property. So this is a property that we had not done any service to before. And she had two garage doors. One was a 16 by 8 foot wide door that they parked two of their cars in, but then they really weren't using their third stall very much, their single stall door. And their son had moved back in with them, and his car was being parked there. So their opener, which was from, I think, 2002 maybe, it was pretty old, was having some issues. It wasn't being able to lift up this door. Now, when we look at openers, at replacing openers, a big thing we take into consideration is the type of door that it's going on. So this was a very heavy steel on steel door with glass on the top. And we have to be mindful of what kind of repairs we're doing with that. So what had happened is the door was running heavy, and so it stripped out the gear and sprocket. So the gear and sprocket were being moved by the motor, but they weren't actually getting to the drive axle and spinning the sprocket that was moving the chain, which was moving the carriage, which was moving the door. So since there was one key linchpin that was not working, the whole opener was not able to move the door. Now, when we look at an option where we're looking at repair versus replace, a lot of times one of the main things we look at is age. Average lifespan of an opener is about 10 to 15 years. So this one being from about 2002, this is happening about a year ago. This is a 20-year-old opener. So well past its expected lifespan. I talked to the customer and said, hey, I do have a repair option for you. But judging by the age of the opener, you're probably going to see a more cost-effective response of actually just replacing the opener rather than simply repairing it. And I wasn't speaking about it as eloquently as I do now, but I had given her some choices, and I said, "This is up to you. What should we do?" And so she decided to go with the economical repair, which is replacing that gear and sprocket. So we tear the opener apart, we replace that gear and sprocket, we get that back in there, and then I balance out the door, so the door is actually running well. It's well balanced. Springs do naturally sag throughout their lifespan. So that's a regular repair with a tune-up. Customer spent a couple $100, and she was more than happy with the repair, and she thanked me for it. And I went to my next job. About 3 months later, I get called back, and we're looking at the same opener, and the gear and sprocket is running perfectly. The door itself is well balanced. Because this is a 20-year-old opener, the motor died. The motor completely burnt out, wasn't going to be used at all. And the customer was asking, she was like, okay, well, can I use the money that I put towards the gear and sprocket towards a new one? And we can't. We can't do that. That's not really a good business practice. And so we did find a way that we were able to work together to get them an opener that was going to work well for them, for how they use the door, how often they use the door, how heavy the door is. We found a great solution for them. We were able to come to an agreement to get this new door this new opener in there, and get their door back up and running. And the customer was a little miffed at first, but when I refocus on what we were talking about previously when I was first there, she was trying to save a little bit of money at first, but ended up spending more money and making it the more expensive option. So sometimes just because it's the most economical at the time, doesn't mean it's the most economical solution moving forward. So just a little bit of cautionary tale there. Really great customer. She was very, very happy at the end. I believe she gave me a tip at the time. But awesome customer. I don't think we've had to go out there and do any work since. But we were more than happy to go back whenever we can. They were great to us, and we want to make sure we're taking care of them for a long period of time. Another really great story that I have, that I've told a very short version of this story earlier in this podcast, but I kind of wanted to go a little bit more in detail about it, just because this is also, again, kind of cautionary tale. But again, once we were able to take care of this situation for the customer, they were very, very happy with the end solution, and were very happy with what we were able to do. So this is a story where a guy tried to fix his own door, and it instead he had to pay more to have us to come and fix it, because he made his own repairs, and it cost him a little bit more as well. So this was a job that happened in Woodbury, and the customer was a landlord of this property. So he owned the property himself, and he had tenants that were living there. Tenants gave him a call, and they said that their door was crooked. It just wasn't laying flat on the floor. For us, that's a pretty normal. We know exactly what's going on just by hearing that, or even looking at it. There's one of two things that will have happened: either one, the cable broke, or two, the cable dumped. So what we mean by that is the cable is not thoroughly wrapped around the drum anymore. It's actually just fallen off. That's why I keep making this weird movement. A lot of times it tends to be the left cable, for a multitude of reasons. But the cables can dump for a lot of things that will happen to it. You'll often see that if the door gets closed on top of something, if the spring is sagging because it hasn't been tuned up, but it's not tight enough, because they do naturally sag. It will happen because the opener is lifting the door way too high. And so there's a lot of different reasons why a cable will dump. There's some things that we can do with regular tune-ups to prevent that from happening. There's parts of our process that make sure that that will not be a problem. And when somebody that is not trained in how to look at a garage door tries to fix it, you don't always know where to look first. So this customer was called by the tenants. He went over to the property, and he's done a lot of other service on that property before by himself with no issue. He looked at the garage door, said, I can probably fix it. And he saw one of the rollers had popped out. And so it was the bottom right-hand roller. And he looked at the roller and said, I can probably just take that off and put it back in because that must have been what was causing the problem. It popped out of the track. He didn't at all look at the spring line, didn't at all look at the cable, didn't even know that that was an issue. And so the first thing he did is he got down on his knees and he started taking out that bottom bracket, taking the screws out of it. What he didn't know is that that bottom bracket was still attached to the spring. Now, the cable that connects the bottom bracket and the drum, which is connected to the spring line, the door is about most of the way down. So it still has a lot of tension on that spring line. So the cable was really, really tight. So when he finally took that last screw out, it came up and it hit him in the forehead, right around here. He had 18 stitches in his forehead. Now, in all honesty, the guy's really lucky to be alive. This was a big door. It was a steel on steel insulated door. It was a tuck under garage, so you want to have some insulation in a space like that because right above the garage is typically a living space. You don't want that living room to be very cold, so you want to have an insulated door. So this is a very, very heavy spring that was still attached to this cable, and it came up extremely fast. If anybody's ever been cut anywhere in the head, typically they do bleed a lot. And the tenants had shared with me that they were really glad they were able to clean up the blood before we came out because they said it looked like a massacre, like somebody had died in there because there was a lot of blood everywhere. So that customer had really, really great tenants. I mean, holy smokes, these tenants are amazing. Those tenants took him to the hospital themselves, made sure he was okay. He ended up getting the stitches on his forehead just fine. And after he had all those stitches, he still had to pay for me to come fix the door. What could have been a fairly quick, easy, not terribly expensive repair ended up being quite a bit more because now I didn't have that help from that spring that still had the tension on it. Helping me correct the door. I had to do a couple other things that were a little bit harder, took a little bit longer, and with modified risks, there's a little bit more dangerous. But we modify those risks as much as possible, mitigate those risks. Excuse me. So we mitigate the risks to make sure the door does not completely fall back on us. But it was a little bit of a harder repair, and a large part of that was because he tried to fix it himself. So. I mean, imagine this guy got hit in the head by his own garage door, had to get 18 stitches in it, and then he still had to pay for me to come fix his door. So that was a very, it ended up being a great situation at the end. The customer was happy. The tenants were very happy. They had the door that was working again. And the customer's alive. I mean, we know from previous episodes that over 30,000 people every year get seriously injured from garage doors, and they need to go to the hospital and get some type of treatment for that. So garage doors can be very dangerous, especially if you don't know what you're doing. So again, kind of cautionary tale. Let us come out and take care of this for you so you don't end up walking yourself into a very dangerous situation that can be very painful. So with Rise and Shine Garage Doors, we are a 5-star rated company. And I'm moving on to the next story. Let me clarify that. We're a 5-star rated company. And so we have a lot of really great high profile customers that call us out to do some repairs for them. So there's a local sports celebrity that had called us out. That's all the information you're going to get about this person. But it was a very fun day when they called us out. So myself and somebody else were called out to their property, and we took a look at what was going on. And sometimes there's some really interesting things that happen outside of the garage itself that we really need to take into consideration when we're trying to diagnose what's going on. So this had happened early fall. So there was still a lot of green leaves, but trees were starting to turn. I remember I was still in shorts, so it was still pretty hot out. And there was very recently a big storm, and the customer was having an issue where there was no power to the unit. Now they had already had an electrician out there, and he had checked the plugins. They checked the outlets. Excuse me. Oh, that was a hard word to figure out. He'd already checked the outlets. The outlets were all reading good, but there was no sign of life in 2 of these 3 openers. And so when we got out there, we were trying to figure out, well, why would this randomly happen? And it happened to 2 openers at the same time. Well, something that's really crazy that does happen is Mother Nature can come in and just decide that your house looks really, really fun to hit with lightning. So presumably what we're figuring out, and because there was such a big storm the night that before this all happened, we deducted that this property was hit by lightning, and decided to fry 2 of his 3 openers. And so we figured out what the customer needed. We ended up having to replace the 2 of the 3 openers completely. We initially thought we could just do a head swap, but it wasn't just the head unit that was fried out. It was also those safety sensors, those safety eyes. And he had some older wall buttons that needed some updating as well. So the customer needed a little bit more work. And there was one thing that he could have had on all 3 of his openers to prevent this from happening ever in the first place, and that's a surge protector. And we do offer surge protectors when we're out offering services to our clients. But there are a lot of surge protectors you can find at any hardware store. You don't need a guy like me to come out and install them. They're very, very easy. You unplug your opener, plug in the surge protector, plug the opener into the surge protector, you're done. So if your house gets struck by lightning, the surge protector is going to break rather than losing your whole opener altogether. So that can be a very, very inexpensive way of preventing a very expensive repair in the future. So I would strongly recommend, if you do not currently have a grounding system on your home, and I will actually, I should say this, the person who owned this home did say they did have a grounding system, and it still ended up having an issue. But I would strongly recommend, if you do not have a surge protector on your opener right now, please, please, please protect yourself, protect your property. Just put a surge protector on there. They're cheap. They're $10, $15, $20, depending on which kind you get. I don't see a big benefit of getting a really expensive one rather than a less expensive one. They do the job the same way. They're very, very basic parts. It's essentially a fuse. Just like how your fuses work in your car, or fuses or breaker boxes work in your home. Those are supposed to be the manufactured point of failure to make sure that you lose one side, a little cheap part rather than the big expensive part. It's a sacrificial piece. I do also want to point out this customer, very famous local celebrity, sports celebrity. The garage was very, very cluttered. I had to step over skis and Christmas decorations and other decorations. So if you call us out and you want to apologize for your garage, like we've seen quite a bit. So the wife of this athlete came out and said, please excuse our episode of hoarders. It's okay, don't worry about it. We've seen worse, and we have. So don't ever let a messy garage be the reason you're not calling us. We're okay. We're big boys. We can handle it. Big boys and big girls. We can handle that kind of situation if need be. I do have another kind of hard job that was very, very difficult, and not difficult as in like the customer was difficult. This customer was actually really, really great. And this story happened on February 22nd of 2022. So for anybody that lives in the Midwest or Minnesota, that day was a huge snowstorm. It was the 222 Tuesday storm. It was a massive snowstorm that day. And it started off really slow in the morning. It was just a little bit of light flurries and everything. And I was training in somebody that day, a great technician named Jordy. And he and I went to somebody's house, and they just had a broken cable. It was similar to one of the other stories I just said. We fixed it. It was bing, bang, boom, in and out within an hour and a half. Great customer there. We got it done. And this customer called us. This customer is also a local celebrity. And That's all I'm going to say. If I tell you that guys what he did, I'd probably narrow it down pretty quick. But if you do want to try to figure it out, we do have his name and what he does and what happened to his home and the picture of the garage door on our Facebook page, Call Rise and Shine. If you want to check us out, you can just scroll down to February 22nd of 2022, and you'd be able to see a picture from that day. So this person called us to come out there, and I called him on my way in, and he's like, "Yeah, it's pretty messed up," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a broken cable. I just left a broken cable. It's fine." And he's like, "I don't know, man. It's really messed up." I'm like, "All right, well, no fear. I'll come in." I was probably a little too cocky, a little too smug, and than I should have been when I walked into this door. And so when I rolled up to this customer, let me go back a little bit. Customer said, "All right, well, when you get here, let me know if it can be fixed or not. I don't know if it can be, but we'll see." I roll up to this customer's house, and I just start laughing. It was way worse than I ever thought. I mean, I've seen a lot of broken cable jobs, but this was rough. And I was really, really grateful to have my trainee Jordy with me that day, because I know for a fact I was not going to be able to do this one by myself. So I get to this customer's home. We go in, we start talking to him, and I'm like, "All right, well, tell me a little bit about what happened." He's like, "Well, my cable rusted out and broke." I should also say real quick, we were at this customer's house about 9 months beforehand, and the technician did mention that his cables were very rusty. He should probably get that repaired. This is why. So what happened is one of the cables broke. Is the right side cable that it broke because of all the rust that was on it. It eventually just wore out to the point where it broke, and all the rollers popped out except for one. And so what was holding up this door was the opener. Opener was a big part of it, and the center was holding up the top. The top right roller was still jammed into the track. All the rollers on the left popped out, but the left cable was still holding on to it. The right bottom section was kind of shoved out into the driveway. And again, this is the February 22nd, 222 Tuesday snowstorm. So it's snowing hard and fast. I believe that day it was a little over 12 inches fell that day. So we just pulled up. It was just starting to snow really hard. And I looked at my guy, and I looked at my guy, Jordy. I looked at the customer. I said, let me think about it for a little bit. Let me figure out a plan, see what we can do. What was really great is all the sections were still in good condition. They were still square. They were still even. And I genuinely thought this door is repairable. We can get this door back up and running. I did strongly recommend replacement in the future, but in order to get this door down safely, we would have had to do this anyway in some way, shape, or form, so that we can get it down in a way that wasn't going to hurt our technicians, because there is still a lot of tension on that spring, even if the door was still kind of mostly down. It had all the weight on one cable on one side. We took a lot of steps to mitigate that risk by putting vice grips on certain things and making sure we didn't stand in certain areas. So we take a lot of those things into consideration when we're putting a plan together on how to fix this very messed up door. I'm glad I had my Irish up that day. There was a little bit of holding up the door by my hands, and just a little bit of shaking, and to get the rollers in there correctly. But Jordy and I worked together very, very well as a team that day, and we got the door back into the tracks. We were able to get the door down safely. And that customer, I mean, the look on his face when he came out and saw that we had gotten the door, number one, back in the tracks, and then number two, we got the door back up and running. We were able to replace the cables in the bottom brackets to a point where they were a much stronger cable. I believe we put stainless steel cables on, which are going to be a much stronger cable, has higher tensile strength, and it's going to be able to hold this very large doors. I should also say it was 16 by 8. It was the oversized door, very, very big, very heavy. It did have insulation. It was a vinyl back insulation, so a little different than the steel on steel, but very heavy door. And we were able to get this back up and running. That customer was very, very happy. He gave us a tip that was very, very generous as well. And I still talk about that door to this day, just as kind of a cautionary tale. Again, cautionary tale. I'm like, okay, well, if you don't want to move forward with this repair, that's okay. But this is the extreme, but this is something that could happen to your door if we do not take care of it. Mind you, I took care of that twice in the same day. We had a broken cable earlier in the day because it had rusted out. We had another one. There were two very, very different ends of the spectrum. One was a fairly simple cable repair, a broken cable repair. One was a very difficult broken cable repair. But we don't back down from harder challenges. We like that. We love to look at them and work really hard to fix them. I actually got really jealous of a coworker of mine. Since I'm mostly in the office now, I'm not in the field as much as I used to be. One of my coworkers ended up going to a door that had a broken cable, and man, was I jealous. That looked like a really fun door to fix, similar to this door I just described for this other local celebrity. So that's something that I think adds a lot of value to us as a garage door company, and I hope you guys see it that way. It's something that we work really hard to do the hard things. We aren't afraid to do hard things. So yeah, that was one of my favorite stories to tell. This next one here talks a little bit more about our sales process, and I think it's really important for a lot of you listeners to hear this one, because it comes from a place of caring, and some might look at it a little differently, and that's okay. But a big thing we want to make sure our guys are doing every time they come to somebody's property is to show our value. And when we show our value, we want to show that we're doing it through customized, relevant solutions. So I'm not just adding this super upgraded, fancy opener that has a backup battery and integrated camera on this piece of junk, half leaning over garage door, garage for no reason at all. If I want to have a reason for it. Now, if the customer wants that, that's totally fine. I'm happy to put it in there, but I should have a reason for it too. So this customer, this is one that happened in Kenyon, Minnesota. A customer called us out because I was dealing with a gentleman by the name of Bob. Bob and his wife, I don't remember her name. Bob and his wife have a daughter that purchased this home in Kenyon. They actually live in Maple Grove, Minnesota. And their daughter had purchased this property only a couple months beforehand. And they freely admitted this person is very, very high anxiety. And having been a realtor myself, I know that there is a lead-based paint disclosure that has to happen on homes that are of a certain age. For whatever reason, this woman did not see that, and she's found out there's lead-based paint in the house, and she's like, I can't live in this house until all the lead-based paint is gone. Okay, fair enough. Her fantastic parents were like, all right, we're going to work together. We're going to get this figured out. We're going to fix up this house. We're going to work together to do this, and we're going to get so that you can live in this home. And so they had already done so much work in the home, removing paint safely and getting it disposed of safely. And another big step in the process was getting this, what was essentially more of a shed, and turning it into a garage, a functional garage. Big reason I say functional is because it did have doors, but it was but it was the bifold doors that open up like this. It was about 8 feet wide, right on the dot there, and a little over 7 feet high. It needed some different framing, but also the frame was framed for bifold doors. It wasn't framed for a garage door. And so there was some framing that needed to be done to get this to be a functional space that we could actually install a garage door to. Now, Bob had called multiple other companies, garage door companies specifically, and they all said, I can give you a quote for a door, but I can't frame out your space. I can't frame it. Nope, so we can't do anything. Call me back when you have your door framed out. They wouldn't even give them, some of them wouldn't even give them pricing, just say this is a job I'm not interested in doing. I should also say that this garage space was very dark. and it had a gravel floor. And it was very much turning a space into a functional garage rather than just turning garage into a garage. And when we got out there, we were kind of already given a heads up that there was some framing that needed to be done. And we have a really wonderful team member named Cameron, who does have some skills and training on and how to be a really great carpenter and frame things out correctly. And as well, a licensed general contractor. And he also just works for us as a garage door guy. And we knew that this was a service that we could offer by framing it out, as long as it's within in the realm of skills that we know we want to take part. We know this will be an easy enough job. We can get in one day. If it's a multiple day job, we'll typically try to send that out to somebody else that focuses a little bit more on this. But it was a service that we offered. And so right away, the customer was really, really happy that we were able to at least offer that service, which a lot of other companies simply weren't even offering. We go out there and I talk to the customer a little bit more. I learn about their daughter. I learn about them driving from Maple Grove all the way down to Kenyon at least twice a week to take care of them and to get this squared away for their daughter so that she can live there. Now she's looking for an 8x7 garage door, not insulated, fairly inexpensive as far as garage doors go, a little over $1,000. The prices will regularly change, so I want to be very vague with my pricing. So don't be calling my office, say your guy at Logan said on Rise of the Rooster podcast that your 8x7s are only $1,000. Nope, they are not only $1,000. But very vague numbers. I'll be in the ballpark just so you can get an idea of what we're offering to these customers. So about $1,000. And the customers, I was asked them, are you planning on using an opener or are you planning on moving this by hand? He's like, I don't know if you'll be able to fit an opener in there. And I looked, I'm like, no, we got plenty of space. This shouldn't be an issue at all. He's like, well, great. I want an opener on there too. It's like, fantastic. I talked to them a little bit more and figured out like what they were doing in the home and why they were doing this for their daughter. And I said, hey, can I say something to you real quick? He said, yeah, absolutely. Bob, your daughter is so lucky to have such an amazing father like you that puts in the effort to really take care of these situations for her and get her comfortable living in her new home. And it makes me feel really good to see a family taking care of each other this way. You clearly have done a really great job raising her and serving your family for such a long time. I'm so grateful that you gave us the opportunity to come out and serve you for once. So I just wanted to say thank you. And it was a really, really touching moment. I don't know if he's been thanked enough. I know his wife was very grateful. His daughter were very grateful, but it was genuine, and I felt it. He felt it, and he was really excited about the solutions I was going to bring to him. And I talked to him a little bit more, and I put together a solution. I have 2 premium, 2 mid-range, and 2 economy. And my top option was quite a bit more than that initial price that I had set, almost 4 times as much. And I presented this option. I said, this is Bob's never has to worry solution. This is something you should hear from any of our technicians. We want to customize it. It's going to have your name in it. It's going to be Premium Plus. Bob never has to worry solution. This is going to be the new door that you wanted, non-insulated door. We are going to put a never rust kit in it. This is going to be stainless steel cables, which are never going to rust, powder coated bottom brackets, powder coated verticals. When I noticed that I did this because I see that you have gravel floor in here, and that can very likely be intruded by water. And that's really bad for garage doors. And it erodes them very, very fast. So I put this in here so that you don't ever have to worry about the rust on that. Because my greatest fear is we spend all this time to put in this door, and then you start having issues with something that we can avoid right away. I put in this opener. Now it's not my most economical one. I did put a little bit, this is a nicer opener, or has a stronger motor, has a lifetime warranty on it from the manufacturer, but we also back that up with an additional 5 years parts and labor warranty. It has a belt drive. It's very quiet, but it's also super, super strong. And a big thing I noticed being in this garage, it's very, very dark. So this opener has bright LED lights that are built into it. You don't have to climb up on a ladder and screw in a light bulb that's really dim, that barely lights up part of it. This is a super bright opener that illuminates the entire garage very, very well. I have two openers or remotes for you, and then I have a keypad that we'll be able to install in it, so you don't always have to walk or go through the back to open up the garage. You can also just type in this keypad, and then we can put it on a part of the garage that's actually going to be hidden from the alleyway so that nobody else can see it. So she was very, very interested in that as well. I offered to be able to frame out the garage, the opening. That was including tax, labor, and parts, all of it, all in one estimate. So I presented that top option to him first. He said, that one. I'm like, Bob, I didn't even show you the rest of these solutions. Do you not want to see those? He's like, nope, this is everything I need. I don't have to worry anymore. My daughter's well taken care of. And this is something that this is everything that I needed. It's all in one thing. I don't even care what the price is. Like, this is what I want. So like I said, just the door is about $1,000. We were about 4 times as much to get that done. That's including the opener, that's including the services, that's including everything else. And that was meeting all of the customers' needs. And the reason that it works is because we put customer relevant solutions. They're customized to your needs. They're not for everybody else. They're not cookie cutter. I don't just have a big template that I print out for everybody. Every single one is going to be customized to you directly. And that's a great value that we want to bring to all of our customers. When you call out Rise and Shine Garage Doors, this is the type of service that you're going to be getting. We got the door installed. We got it framed out for them, and they could not be happier. Bob was very, very excited. I've just noticed I've been saying very, very a lot in this episode, so my apologies there. But Bob was very excited, and he was very happy. His wife was very happy, and his daughter was very happy. And that's the end goal. We just want to make sure you're taken care of, and this is not, you don't have to worry about this anymore. This is squared away, and we came in and we provided that solution for you. So that's all the stories that I have right now. I'm excited for the next episode. This was a really fun episode for me to do, kind of all by myself. I'm here in the office by myself right now. Everybody's left and gone for the day, and I really enjoyed this one. So I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you all for listening to the Rise of the Rooster podcast. Remember, we rule the roost. Catch you guys later. Bye.